हाय समथिंग अबाउट बांग्लादेश विच इज़ बिन बगिंग मी। आज सुबह मैंने कोशिश किया था एक वीडियो रिकॉर्ड करने का लेक में जाके, बट द नॉइस वाज सो टेरिबल विद ट्रेन्स एंड ऑल पासिंग। बगल में स्टेशन है, वहाँ का अनाउंसमेंट, सो आई थॉट लेट मी गो बैक होम एंड लेट मी डू दिस रिकॉर्डिंग। ऐसा है कि बांग्लादेश के इंडिपेंडेंस को लेके मेरा कुछ इंटरेस्टिंग सा ऑब्जर्वेशन है विच आई वांटेड टू शेयर विद यू। इंटरेस्टिंग एंड पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस एंड पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस, एंड हाउ देर इज समथिंग विच आई रोट इन कॉन्टोर्स ऑफ द ग्रेटर गेम, जिसके साथ वो टैली करेगा, जिसके साथ वो मैच करेगा, एंड वांटेड टू शेयर दैट। देखिए, बांग्लादेश इंडिपेंडेंस का वी नो व्हाट हैपेंड। दिस मुजीबुर रहमान का पार्टी वन 167 सीट्स आउट ऑफ द 300 समथिंग seats that were there, and so they were all posed to form a central government in Islamabad. पाकिस्तान का जो पंजाबी racism based establishment है, institutions है, they could never allow, etc. जो भी हुआ, Bangladesh became independent. Bangladesh got created. Now, what is that one element which Bangladesh very smartly utilized, harnessed, exploited in order to drum up support from India, Indian population, Indian audience, Indian people, and amongst his own population? State का बात अलग है. Indian state, the state of India, the government of India, Indira Gandhi had their geopolitical reasons to carve out Pakistan, East Pakistan, West Pakistan को अलग करना. That is pure real politics. बट ये जो पब्लिक का मूड स्वे करना, पब्लिक को साथ में लेके आना, इसमें मतलब कौन सा वो खेल खेला इसने, अवामी लीग का लीडर जो है मुजीबुर रहमान ने, विच गॉट लार्ज नंबर ऑफ मिलियंस ऑफ बांग्लादेशी पॉपुलेशन टू रैली बिहाइंड देम, विच ऑल्सो शिफ्टेड द मूड इन इंडिया. And that is a very low IQ, high penetrating, simple sa story which caught the minds of millions of people, which is Bangaliana, Bengali culture, Bengali language. This Bangaliana essentially boiled down from Bengali language. Now Bengali language sort of ऐसा बन गया. बंगाली लैंग्वेज का क्या है, बांग्लादेशी स्टार्टेड आइडेंटिफाइंग विद देमसेल्फ बिकॉज वो उसका थोड़ा सा लेगेसी था, उसका थोड़ा सा पेडिग्री था. ये बंगाली लोगों को ऑपरेस कर रहे हैं, एक तो पंजाबी ऑपरेस कर रहा है, एक तो उर्दू इम्पोज करके ऑपरेस कर रहा है. सो आवर कल्चर इज़ बीइंग ऑपरेस्ड, आवर लैंग्वेज इज़ बीइंग ऑपरेस्ड. 1950 से चले आ रही है बांग्लादेश में. So ever since the creation of East Pakistan and West Pakistan, so that was one thing which resonated in the minds of the Bangladeshi people. It's a simple story. You know, your cultural identity is being robbed by Punjabi supremacists. The reason why it clicked amongst Indian audience, amongst Indian populace, is the fact that because of the fact that Bengali as a language is a derivative of Sanskrit, which is essentially Sanatani, which is essentially subcontinental. So the Indian people immediately found a lot of reasons to suddenly support Bangladesh. Now, if you go back to my book, Contours of the Greater Game, where I argue throughout the book about access and control, and when I talk about control, I say control is, a tool for control is a remarkably simple story which can penetrate the minds of low IQ people and which has got a high penetrative capability. Simple stories like the story of one God, the story of workers of the world unite, communism, the story of democracy, one person, one vote, everybody has got equal say in the formation of government. So these are very simple stories. Similarly, 1970s, Bangladesh cooked up a very simple story about Bangaliana, about Bengali identity, about Bengali language, and it was through this identity that they not only managed to rally millions of Bangladeshis behind them, Awami League, in fight for their independence. They also pulled India with a lot of public opinion in their favor, Indian public opinion in their favor when Indian government decided to move and support Mukti Bahini. And then the big boys with their big guns, the Indian army walked in. Because see, on its own, Mukti Bahini was a disruptive force. Uska apna kuch nahi tha. No matter how much India tried and helped them and trained them and provided them light weapons and all, Mukti Bahini was nothing in front of the Pakistani war machine. As I said, they were a disruptive force. It was only when these big guys and their big guns walked in, the game got decidedly over for Pakistan. Bangladesh got its independence. So बांग्लादेश का इंडिपेंडेंस के वहाँ पे एक चीज़ है जिसको लेके बात शायद ज़्यादा लोग नहीं करते, जो मेरे दिमाग में आया कि इट इज़ द अमेजिंग यूटिलिटी, इज़ द अमेजिंग एम्प्लॉयमेंट ऑफ अ वेरी सिंपल स्टोरी which is a low IQ, high penetrative story, which is a story which many people bought, millions of people bought across the border in India and Bangladesh. And the story was, the end result, the consequence that the story wanted to drive at was extremely successful. Now, बहुत लोग ना, and especially in West Bengal, misguided people, लो इंटेलेक्ट पीपल, जो अपने आप को बहुत बड़ा इंटेलेक्चुअल समझते हैं, हम लोग जिसको आतिल बोलते हैं यहाँ पे, दे स्टार्टेड बिलीविंग इन दिस शिट दैट हाँ बंगाली तो है, बॉर्डर के इस साइड में भी बंगाली है, बॉर्डर के उस साइड में भी बंगाली है. दे टुक दिस थिंग pretty damn seriously, and they started imagining things in their mind, this side of the border, they are Bengalis. The fact is, this was an identity which was taken up. This identity had credibility, as I said, because it had pedigree. It was there from 1950s onwards, and there was a lot of reasons for this identity to sell. This gentleman, क्या नाम है उसका, Mujibur Rahman, was a smart guy. He managed to create a story. He managed to create a tool of control out of this story, and he utilized it. Why was this just a story? Because 1970s में बांग्लादेश ने वो कहानी बना के बेच दिया, बांग्लादेश ने अपने इंडिपेंडेंस बना लिया. But did this identity stay? No. 1975 से this Bangaliana, this Bengali identity got consumed by a bigger identity, which is the religious identity, which is Islam. And now Bangladesh, cut to 2025, now Bangladesh is selling that identity once again back to Pakistan and back to Turkey to try and do whatever it wants to. So being a small country, it has performed remarkably well in creating stories of control through which it is shoring up whatever help that is required from wherever, whenever. At one point in time, it created Bengali identity and took India's help. This time around, it is creating Islamic identity and is taking help of Pakistan, Turkey. As I was thinking about it, I started wondering, is this a kind of a philosophical tragedy? Ki a smaller identity like a Bengali identity gets consumed by a larger identity which has got a more universal appeal, so to speak, Islamic identity and all. And then the answer came to me that probably we have not seen the last of Bangladesh's, fooling around with their Bengali identity. It could come back. It could make a comeback because of two reasons. Okay, so 4-5 years down the line, Indians, be very careful. Bangladesh is once again going to try and sell its Bengali identity to you. What are the two cases in which Bangladesh is going to try and sell Bengali identity to you all? Point number one is global warming. If global warming is real, and if, as predicted, by 2030 Bangladesh is supposed to lose some 30% of its land and millions of population would be displaced and things like that, Bangladesh is going to once again need India's help to resettle those people. So it is once again going to harp on Bengali identity across the border in Tripura, in West Bengal, in Assam to New Delhi, whatever it takes, that we are people from the subcontinent, we are like you all, we come from the same roots, whatever it takes to create a story. And the one story that can again help them re-identify back with India is their Bangaliana, and they are going to use it to the hilt. That is one occasion. What is the other occasion when they are going to try and sell Bengali identity once again is when they are in economic trouble. And they are going to be in economic trouble. They are in partial economic trouble, which they don't realize as yet. Fundamentalists देके देश नहीं चलते हैं, पता चल जाएगा कुछ दिन बाद. And United States is not, next to Chittagong that it is going to establish business routes, and neither is China next to Dhaka that it is going to establish business routes and probably sustain Bangladeshi economy. पैसा दे सकते हैं थोड़ा इधर उधर करके, उससे ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं करेंगे. So for economic sustenance, Bangladesh needs India, and that is the second occasion when Bangladesh is going to try and play back its Bengali identity as a control story in order to sway the minds of Indian population and the Indian government. And that Bengali identity which got, which took a backseat after 1970s is probably going to make a comeback once again. I thought I would share with you. Stay sharp, guys.